Hello, good people. Stitch a wraparound dress with me. Start by the back panel of the top and you stitch your dots, and when the dots have been stitched, attach your facing. This is the facing that you will attach, stitching only the neck part of the back. Do not stitch the shoulders, please. And please note that I had forgotten to show that the facing should have an interfacing, so here I was showing you that part. And then you stitch the neckline at 1/4 of an inch, and after you have stitched that neckline on the facing, this is what it should look like after overlocking. So you can take this to the ironing table and you press that neck so that it flattens and looks neat. And then you come to the front, you stitch the princess dots, and you can overlock those princess dots so that it gives a neat finishing. And you stitch those at 0.25 also. And then at the front, you also stitch the facing, and also make sure it has an interfacing. As I said earlier, I forgot to put an interfacing here. And then you overlock that facing so that it has a neat finishing. Don't leave those edges unattended to. As you see here, overlock yours so that it looks neat and press it. And then now take the back, making it to face downward so that it sits by the wrong side. And then the correct side of the back must be aligned with the correct side of the front. And then you open the shoulders. Remember, I said you don't stitch the shoulders. So you take the interfacing of the front panel, you align it with the facing of the back panel, the shoulders to the shoulders of the garment. So you can see what I'm doing here. I am aligning the shoulders of the garment and the interfacing, and then I put a stitch. And then this is what it should look like when it has been stitched correctly. The shoulders now are attached. The side seams are still not attached. And then we will then go on and take the sleeves in. So our sleeves are double layered. It has a flounce layer and the base sleeve. So the flounce layer is overlocked, and we start by hemming that flounce layer of the sleeve. Overlock it and then you hem it, and then the top part we are going to gather that. You attach a temporal stitch, and this is the base of our sleeve. It's just a basic short sleeve. So you hem that part at the bottom there, and then now you attach these two. The flounce and the sleeve are attached by a temporal stitch, and then I took it to the flat machine to stitch these two. Remember, I said the gathers are going to be achieved by pulling the strings on the flounce, and then when you have stitched it, it will look like that. It will be one unit now. The basic sleeve is attached here with the flounce, and then you take that, you fold it in half, and you identify the center, which is the shoulder part of this unit. And then you take that to the sewing machine so that you attach the sleeve to the bodice. The center of our sleeve is going to be aligned to the shoulder of our garment. So that is me aligning the two. So that's the shoulder seam. So you align the center of the sleeve. And then now you will stitch the two to become one unit, making it a point that the armhole curve is aligned. It should start from where the armhole of the garment starts to where it ends. There has to be a stitch there, and you'll be stitching at 0.5. So you'll be attaching that at 0.5. And as you stitch, you are aligning the seams. As a student, you should know by now that seams have to be aligned all the time. And here I hope you note that I had a pin attached there so that my centers do not misalign. And as I'm stitching here, I am gathering. The reason why I am gathering here is because the sleeve has gathers at the shoulder part. So that is the essence of what I am doing in this clip. So watch me as I attach the rest of the sleeve. After I have attached the armhole sides of the sleeve, this is what the sleeve will look like. You can go ahead and remove those temporal stitches now because they don't have any use. But the part where these armholes are stitched, you can take that to the overlocker so that it looks neat on those edges where I am showing you. You can go ahead and overlock that so that you give it a neat finishing. And after you have done that, you then align the flounce and the seam of the sleeve. Hold those two together. And then you stitch holding the two together so that you finish your side seam on the sleeve end. And after you have done that, the top part is fairly done, and now you have to attach a waistband. So here you will take a waistband that is 5 inches thick, 5 inches width rather, fold it in half, and then you stitch it at the waist of the blouse. So you stitch it at the waist of the blouse, and please note that it has extensions at the front because you have to tie it. So these extensions can be 20 to 30 inches long depending on your preference of how long you want these ropes to be. And then after I have stitched the belt, the waistband on the blouse, I leave the parts that are extended, the ones that I will tie. I hope you see that those are not stitched. And I go to my skirt. This is a 360 skirt. I hem the edges and the bottom part of the skirt. Those are overlocked and hemmed. And then now I have to attach this skirt to the blouse that already has a belt now. So I will find the center. Oh, so here I was showing that I will stitch those overlocked edges, as I had said, so that they look neat before taking this to the blouse. So here, the folding here, I fold at 1/2 inch. So after I have folded at 1/2 inch, I'm moving a bit faster than the footage, so forgive me for that. So now it's stitched, then we have to go and align. Find the center of the waist on the skirt. You find the center of the waist and you find the center of the blouse, the center of the skirt and the center of the blouse. Both of them must be aligned at the waist. So you align those centers. So you see that small notch? I was aligning the centers when I was doing that. And then I stitch the two. If done correctly, the skirt waistline should be equal to the blouse waistline. And when they have been aligned, you attach the two using pins. And this is what the two should look like. So the part where these two are joined with pins, that is where I will insert a stitch. So here I'll be stitching at 1/2 inch. And as I'm stitching, please note that I don't stitch the extensions of the belt. I only stitch the waist lines of the skirt and the blouse such that it will look like this. And then now we have to go and finish the extensions. So these strings that are extended on the waist, the ones that we will use to tie our skirt, we have to finish them and give them a neat finish. That is why I did not stitch all the way to the end on the waistband. And I hope you see that I ripped a portion on the skirt part because I realized that I had over stitched. So I ripped a small portion. You can rip up to an inch, not even an inch. You can even do quarter of an inch on that part where I'm showing you. That one is going to make you have a neater finish. And then you flip the waistband so that it has a stitch that will be on the inside of the waistband. So I hope you see what I'm doing here. I take the waistband and then now I fold it and I stitch it on the inside now. So part of the waistband will be stitched on the inside, only on the extended part. And then the rest of the waistband will be stitched on the outside, the one that won't show outside of the skirt. But the ropes that will be extended externally have to have a neater finish. So that is the essence of what I am demonstrating here. So now it has been stitched. For it to give a neat finish, I chop off that corner so that it has a flat corner once it has been flipped. And then now I will flip the waistband. You can get a loop turner to flip that, or you can use any object that you have at your vicinity. And then now, after you have folded externally, then now you see how it will look like. And then now I will go back and finish that too, stitching these as a unit, the blouse, the belt, and the skirt, all sewn as one unit. And then I will then overlock, starting from where my hand is holding the skirt now, so that the external part will be nicely finished, but the internal part will be overlocked. There you go. That is what I was aiming for. So that is fairly it when it comes to stitching a wrap around skirt that has a belt. And this is what everything will look like. For this one, we attached buttons for the top part. You'll trim those threads that are showing there so that it looks very neat. You can also attach a small stitch so that there's no flip on the waistband part, or you can overlock.